All right, let's do take two of my podcast about tolerance today. My name is Nish, and I want to thank you for joining me for my little podcast. It's December 3rd, and this was going to be the day that I was going to have surgery on my left thigh to remove a cyst that's really taken over. Okay. And this morning, I get a call from my surgeon's office saying that they have to cancel my surgery today and reschedule it because the doctor is in another important surgery that will uh, probably go late and he wouldn't be able to make it to my surgery. So there you go. That's one thing that I needed to have tolerance for because I've been suffering greatly with pain and other um, terrible side effects from taking a toxic uh, antibiotic that the doctor had prescribed to me when he had to actually drain the cyst that's on my leg. But he couldn't complete removing it in his office. It required surgery. All right. So for the last 3 weeks, I've been suffering greatly with pain and discomfort of side effects. And to be honest, I really didn't have a very good Thanksgiving because I was suffering. And people, I mean, I can't go to a friend's house or anything like that under the condition I was in anyway. But it was nice to hear from and have many of my friends who I really consider family at this point because my actual blood family, and there are quite a few members that live in the Southern California area, not far from me, that, really don't include me anymore in any endeavors. That's just the way it is. But see, that's another thing, I'm tolerating the status, I guess, of my uh my family's status. Okay. So tolerance, when you think about it, just getting like straight into this topic, is or tolerance can take many forms. Most often, it does refer to accepting the behaviors or perspectives of others, even when they differ from your own. All right. It can also describe the ability to endure situations we'd rather avoid, or the strength to live with physical pain um, through tolerance. In any case, tolerance becomes a quiet kind of salvation, an inner resilience that helps us move through life with more grace. And that is what I'm attempting to um, achieve by, first of all, uh, recording this podcast on this subject of tolerance and just reflecting upon the many ways that I tolerate situations or other people's behavior uh, through disappointment, perhaps, so that, you know, I can live on peacefully. And just like a previous podcast that I did on forgiveness and reconciliation, forgiving someone is really for you so that you can have peace with yourself, whether or not you actually have a conversation or you talk face to face with somebody and say, "Okay, I forgive you for that indiscretion," or whatever situation it is that you didn't agree with. They don't have to accept an apology from you. You could even forgive a person without having to communicate that with them. You try to forgive them in your heart, but that's again for you so that you have peace. It's not necessarily for them to have peace, but it doesn't mean that you have to reconcile with that person. You could simply forgive and not forget, but move on. Okay. That is, that's tied into tolerance because, there can be people in your lives that, or your life that uh, just are constantly on your last nerve, or um, you're always being disappointed by them. And, to be very frank about it, uh, it's really up to you because they behave the way they do because that is them. Um, it may be in your mind you feel that they should treat you differently. I felt on Thanksgiving Day when there was an opportunity for a friend of mine to come visit at least and check in on me. And I had fallen down the steps, and my other neighbor came to my rescue, but my other neighbor, you know, expressed that she was, um, you know, sorry that that had happened and shocked about it, but had an opportunity to stop in and just say, "Hey, I would just want to see how you're doing, and if there's something I could help you with right now." And but none of that. And though I do, and I have so many wonderful friends that I consider family now. I really do. That were caring, that stepped right up and you know did things out of the kindness and loving heart that they have, sending me a delivery of food and water and many other things so that I can get through this time and this surgery. Now it's like another week and a half before I can finally have my surgery. But just like the first take of this podcast that I recorded, for some reason didn't take, it didn't save the recording. Uh, Maybe the reason why my surgery is being delayed is that there's a good reason for that, that maybe I'm being spared something awful that could have happened if I did have the surgery, and perhaps um, I needed to re-record this podcast because uh, maybe I needed to take a different approach. So, um, but I think this is a pretty straightforward approach covering some, topics of tolerance. The thing about tolerance is that, again, just like in forgiveness, you're doing this for yourself so you can live a more peaceful and satisfying life, because there's always going to be something or some people or whatever it is. Maybe it's your job, you have to have the job to survive, but you know that you're not being treated right, and that every moment you are working, all you could think about is not being there. You know what I mean? Um, and unfortunately, I really understand that because I've recently had a job that was just torture, and I can compare that to many jobs that I've had that were wonderful that I would have loved to continue to do to this day. Um, and know that I was really appreciated at the job and that I was doing something creative that I wanted to do that I excelled at. And it was a shame um, that I couldn't continue. So there are reasons for things. Anyway, before I go way out on a tangent, I know that there's many things that you'll need to muster up and tolerate over the holidays, but hopefully not too much, that you can enjoy your holidays with your loved ones, the ones that love you and you love back. That's the most important part of the conclusion of 2025. And let's all go into 2026 um, on a positive note with great optimism and hope, and hope that we don't have to tolerate too much strife. I don't like to get political in my podcast, but I know that we are suffering greatly under the current administration. So I am praying that suffering will end. Right? That's all I'm going to say. I'm just praying that suffering will end for the majority of the people in the United States. Anyway, take care, everyone. I love you. And I wish you a very, very happy holiday. Good night.